It was nice to be able to relax and let my guard down, even for such a short time. I sat on the floor and played with Ali and Anna for over an hour until Mark came over to let me know that the others from across the street would be heading over soon. I got up, kissed Ali on the top of her head, and walked with Mark to the kitchen table where Jessica and Chris were sitting. "Slight warning," said Chris. "One of the guys over there can be pretty intense. He's been wanting to go outside, guns a-blazing, shooting down anything that moves. If you are planning on going to the school, I'm sure he would want to go with you, and I'm not so sure that it would end well." "I haven't heard a lot of gunshots," said Mark. "So far, we've been able to convince him to keep quiet and not draw attention our way. I'm just not sure how long he will hold out," said Chris. "Chris, are you thinking of going, or would you feel safer staying here?" I asked. "My girlfriend and sister want to stay. I'm undecided right now about whether that is the best choice, but there's no way I'm leaving them, so I'm staying here unless they can be convinced to go," said Chris. "Jessica, what about you?" I asked. "I'm going for sure. I don't know how far those roots have gone or when they'll break their way into the houses over here. I think we need to get as many people together as we can and either fight back or try to get somewhere where this isn't happening," said Jessica. I looked back over at Ali and Anna playing, and I knew that they needed to stay together. Other than the two of them, it had been all adults. There were a lot of kids in this neighbourhood, so I hoped that they were able to make it somewhere safe. "And you, Mark?" I asked. Mark sat down at the table and put his head in his hands. "I agree with Jessica. Who knows how long it will be safe here? I don't know how safe the elementary school will be either, especially since it is a big building with a lot of ways in. But I think it is our best bet for now. What about you?" "I think we will go to the school first and see what everyone else knows and if they have a plan. Then we can figure it out from there," I said. Static came through the walkie-talkie in front of Chris, followed by,
"This is Bald Eagle calling Little Boy Blue. We're coming over. Over."
"Little Boy Blue?" Mark asked. Chris shook his head. "They wanted call signs. I couldn't think of one, so they chose for me." Chris got up and walked to the living room. He looked out the windows before opening the door and looking out. "It looks safe from our side, Bill. Over," he said.
"Who is Bill? Over,"
came the reply. Chris let out a big sigh.
"I mean Bald Eagle. Over,"
Chris said. Chris opened the door, stepped outside and looked around again. Two men who looked to be in their 40s and a teenage girl ran over and came inside. Chris did one last look outside to make sure they hadn't been seen, then closed and locked the door.
"All right, we've got some new recruits,"
said Bald Eagle. He had what I'm assuming was an AR-15 strapped on his shoulder. "I'm Joe. This is Mark and Jessica." I pointed over to where the kids were playing. "And my daughter Ali."
"I'm Bill, but you can just call me Bald Eagle. This is Scott, aka String Cheese, and his daughter, Trish. The rest are back at the other house in case we have trouble."
He paused and patted his gun.
"There's not likely to be any trouble that we can't handle, though."
I'm guessing Bald Eagle came up with the call signs for everyone. We all gathered in the kitchen, and Jessica and Mark brought up the houses with the roots busting through the basements, and how Shouting Idiot changed after breathing in the spores. Next, I talked about my contact with the elementary school a few miles away, and said that a group of us were likely heading out in the morning for it.
"What kinds of weapons do you guys have?"
asked Bald Eagle. "A couple hunting rifles, a handgun and a baseball bat," said Jessica.
"I guess that helps,"
he said.
"I've got the rest of my guns across the street. I keep telling everyone over here that we should just make a stand and shoot anyone that comes near us." I thought that was just a terrible idea, and it looked like everyone from this house agreed by the looks on their faces. "We haven't really talked about the changed people that much. I'm not really sure what to even call them, but they aren't like zombies or anything else I've ever seen in the movies," I said. Mark chimed in. "Let's discuss what we know about them. They are smart and they seem to be really organised with how they blocked off our exits from the neighbourhood. We're also pretty sure it started with those roots. Of course, we have no idea where they came from or how to stop them."
"From the houses that we've been in, we've seen that they are clean and eat regular food still. Has anyone heard them talk? I haven't. But they must be communicating with each other somehow, Jessica added. I've never heard them talk, I said. I wonder if there is any way of them going back to normal. I think we should try not to hurt them, just in case we're able to save them, I said. What about the animals? Asked Chris. The people aren't trying to kill us. They're trying to turn us into them. But I've seen the animals attack. I thought of the old racist man I had seen getting eaten by the coyotes, but there were also the mice that bit the boy and changed him, although, if I hadn't stopped them, they may have eventually devoured him. From what I've seen, the animals have been trying to kill and eat us, but if you get bitten by them, it will change you, I said. Bald Eagle sighed.
Wouldn't it just be easier to shoot to kill anything that comes after us?
My husband is out there, Mrs. Wilson snapped. I'm with Joe. We should try not to hurt them. Maybe there's still a way to turn them back.
Fine. No shooting unless absolutely necessary, said Bald Eagle. I'm in for going to the school. Scott, are you and your family coming along?
Scott looked at Trish, who said, We should go, Dad. Maybe some of my friends made it there. Your mum wants us to stay until help arrives, he said. Let's talk it over when we get back. We have to get out of here, she said. I'm not staying. Scott turned to us and said, I'll let you know what we decide. We agreed to meet at 5 a.m. at the house 4 houses down from this one. That way, we wouldn't draw attention to those who decided to stay. Bald Eagle, Scott and Trish were getting ready to head back across the street when another voice came in through Chris's walkie-talkie. Calling house number 2. Something's happening outside. Be on guard. Over, the woman said. Chris responded back. Where are they? Over. Look down the street to your left, she said. There is a group of people gathering together. Over. We couldn't see anything from the main floor windows, so we ran upstairs to try to get a better vantage point. One of the bedrooms had a window facing down the street. A few houses down, there was a group of 5 people standing in the front yard of one of the houses with the garage door closed. 2 of the people ran towards the front door, which was blocked from our view. Another person joined the 3 out in the yard, holding a shovel, and began digging a hole into the ground. Mark pulled out his binoculars to get a closer look.
The ones just standing there are holding something. I can't quite tell what it is, but it looks like it's moving.
The garage door opened on the house, and the 2 people came out with more shovels. One went around the side of the house, and the other one walked towards the house across from it, on our side of the street. The first digger stopped once the hole was a couple feet deep. Another person walked over and dropped something in the hole, which prompted the digger to begin filling it in.
It looked like parts of the roots we saw, said Mark. I wonder how fast those things will grow.
I don't want to wait around and find out. I think we need to head for the school now, Jessica said, while the changed people continued their work, planting the roots outside. Now there was only one house between us and them.
Looks like we are going to the school too,
Chris said. His girlfriend and sister nodded in agreement, and then they took off to get ready. Bald Eagle grabbed the walkie-talkie to check in across the street.
House number 1, we need to leave now. Can you get the car ready? Over.
The response came back quickly. 1 step ahead of you as always. It is loaded and ready to go. Over. Bald Eagle smiled.
Wouldn't expect any less from you, Red Fox. I take it the Parkers are coming with us now. Over.
They are finishing getting ready as we speak, and the Silverado has plenty of room for all of us. Over, she replied.
We'll be waiting by the front door, ready to jump in when you come out. Give us about 10 minutes to finish getting ready. Over, he said. Looks like you guys are covered for transportation, Mark said to Bald Eagle, Scott and Trish. We'll need 2 vehicles for the rest of us. We decided that Mrs. Wilson, Chris, and his girlfriend and her sister would take the car in the garage of this house. The rest of us would go a few houses down, where there was a Traverse parked in the garage that would hold us all. Chris told us that they put some cars in a few of the garages in case he needed to escape quickly, and that the keys would be sitting on the driver's seat. Once we all got in our vehicles, Bald Eagle's group would lead the way in the Silverado, followed by Mrs. Wilson's group in the Impala, and then we would take up the rear. Each group had a walkie-talkie, so we could communicate along the way. My group went out the back door and cautiously ran from house to house,
until we made it to our destination. There was a side entrance to the garage that had been left unlocked. We went in and loaded up the vehicle. Jessica jumped in the driver's seat and we all sat down and buckled up. Red Fox's voice came in on the radio. "Is everyone ready? Over."
"Yes, ma'am. Over,"
replied Bald Eagle. "We're ready too. Over," said Jessica. Jessica jumped out to push the button to open the garage door and then climbed back in and started the car. We pulled out into the driveway and waited for the Silverado and Impala to pass by. I looked behind us as we began to follow them, and there didn't seem to be anyone chasing us. I guess they were too focused on spreading those roots everywhere. We again drove through the neighbourhood, but this time there was still daylight. We turned down one street and then another on our way back to the exit we had tried with the minivan.
"We have some activity up ahead. Over,"
Bald Eagle reported on the walkie-talkie. There were more people digging ahead of us. They completely ignored us when we went by and didn't even look up from their tasks. We drove by without incident and then turned onto the last street and around the curve that would lead us out of the neighbourhood.
"Does everyone see that?"
came Chris's voice through the walkie-talkie. "What are they doing, Dad?" asked Ollie. "Looks like they are waiting for something," I said. There was at least one person standing in each yard, staring at us as we went by. You could tell that the ground in front of them had been recently dug up. "This is creepy," Jessica replied back on the walkie-talkie. These people weren't coming after us either, so we continued towards the dirt road, and where we crashed the minivan. "Be careful up here, Silverado," Jessica said through the walkie-talkie. "This is where they set the trap for us." Over.
"We'll drive through the grass and bushes and make a path for you all. Over,"
came the reply. We bumped up onto the grass and watched the truck plough over the bushes, sending up an abnormally large cloud of dust.
"Stop!"
Mark yelled, and Jessica quickly hit the brakes.
"That doesn't look right. It looks like when those spores burst out of the roots."
The Impala followed through the dust cloud before we could warn them. It was so thick we could barely see their car. I grabbed the walkie-talkie from Jessica and shouted, "Quick! Put on your masks!" Ali jumped into action and searched through the backpacks for our face masks. She found them and quickly handed them out to everyone, making sure there was a smaller one for her and Honor. No one replied from the other cars. "What should we do?" asked Jessica. I looked behind us and the people in the yard started to come towards us. "Get us out of here! Maybe cut through the yard over there," Stacy said, pointing to the house behind us. "Impala! Silverado! Chris! Is anyone there?" I shouted into the walkie-talkie. Jessica put the car in reverse and drove us back onto the street. She quickly put it in drive and peeled out into the grass, driving between the two houses and into the backyard. "I'll take us as far as we can in here, and then we may have to head out on foot," she said. There was still no response as we drove through the grass and around the trees trying to get closer to the dirt road. A wall of trees separated us from that road and continued for a while. It was a bumpy ride through the tall grass of the field that these houses backed up to. Mud started splashing across the side as the field turned into a swamp, which then led into more trees. Jessica pulled the car over as far as we could towards the dirt road and stopped. "I think we have to go on foot from here," she said, while shutting the engine off. We gathered our things and climbed out of the vehicle.
"Let's get going before those people catch up to us,"
said Mark. He picked up Honor and started going through the trees towards the road. I grabbed Ollie's hand and we followed closely behind. It was going to be a long journey by foot, and we would need to move fast before we ran out of daylight.